Hi guys, David from the Thrifty Mechanic here to offer some helpful hints for you to get started in the automotive field. Now I have a few tools here that have really helped me kind of get started and kind of, learn what do I do, what do I need, exactly what is going on in the field. There are three tools that I really want you to see, and that is wrenches, taps and dies, and a good flashlight. Now, if you're not interested, I understand. Especially if you're kind of like wanting to see like a really like in-depth tool review. I haven't gotten to the point where I can afford to just throw tools out there to just be reviewed. Anyway, first and foremost, I want to get my flashlight. Now, this is a little cheapo flashlight. Everybody thinks it's Snap-on, and it's not. It's some like little off-brand Country Trail or whatever. But what I like about it is it's a 3-in-1. Now, with that being said, you're like, 3-in-1, what the hell does that mean? Well, it's got a magnet on it, so that's pretty cool. So if you're working in spaces and you need both hands and you don't want to hold a flashlight, this really helps. It's a pretty strong magnet, too. It's got a work light, pretty bright, and it's also got a spotlight, which is also pretty bright. It cost me about $10, I think. It's not a bad tool at all. I like it, and you even get the hanger for it if you need to just hang it somewhere and just kind of let it sit there with the spotlight on, and you just need the light. It also has the magnet and a flexible neck if you need something else. Well, really good tool. I got it at Rural King, which is like a tractor supply company, I think. Smaller though. I don't know. I've never heard of them before. I got it from there, about $10. Pretty good deal. I never had any issues out of it. It takes AA batteries. You unscrew the bottom, and you're good to go. So there's this tool. Now, what are the uses, and what can you use this for? Well, if you're working under an engine bay, most hoods are made of steel. They're not aluminum yet. You get some carbon fiber stuff every once in a while on tuned vehicles, but not very often. So what do you use it for? Well, if you're working under a car, you want to keep your hands free. That way you can grab stuff and work on stuff. That's where this comes in handy. The magnet. You want to get your light and all that stuff. You bend it to what you need, and there's your light, and you can use your hands as needed. Now, this is a 25 LED, I think. Let's count here. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. 24 LEDs. Oh, it's 24 in the front, and then one on the top. Gotcha. Really awesome tools. Highly recommend getting one. Next tool, good set of wrenches. Now, there's a million different types of wrenches. I think every brand of tools makes a wrench of some sort, either combination or whatever. Today, I'm going to be talking about combo wrenches. The box end, and the open end. So, what's a good idea on what to get? Well, get the best you can afford, really, because you constantly stick with cheap stuff like this great neck right here, and you're going to eventually find yourself rounding off more bolts. Just to show you the difference in quality, I got a little regular old Craftsman wrench, see? It's Craftsman. And I got a great neck. I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison. Now, you see the broaching, which is the points, the crowns essentially on the great neck here. You see how low and gradual those are? That gives you a heck of a lot higher likelihood to round off a bolt when you're using it and you're putting a lot of oomph in it, I guess. Now, if you look at the Craftsman one, it's very strong. You look, and it's got a very defined point to it, meaning that you have a less likelihood with this than you would with this to round off a bolt. Now, rounding off bolts is never fun. Sometimes it takes some really ingenious things to actually get these bolts out if you round them off. And you don't want to have to go down that route because you will fight for your life on that, basically. Snap-on, I found, makes some of the best wrenches ever. Now, that being said, I own a set of Mac wrenches, the precision torque wrenches to be specific, and I've had no issues out of them. I think they're great. I think they work for what they do. Another good thing to have is you need to get wrenches with straight, like a straight flank. This one has the 15-degree offset. So if you take something with a straight edge on it and you lay it flat, you can see that offset. That's about 15 degrees or so. It's not much, but it's enough to help. Like if you're trying to get to a bolt that's right in front of you and you need to kind of get in there and there's something right here blocking you, you can move. It gives you that extra knuckle saving room, which is really important in this field because everything's made of metal or really, really hard plastic that's really sharp, and you don't want scratches, cuts, and bruises all over you because it just makes life very, very painful. Get brake clean in a cut and you let me know how you feel. Anyway, a good set of wrenches can run you anywhere from $50, $100 if you buy a big Craftsman set like the standard and metric. Or if you want to go bigger, you could always move up to the next level and go gear wrench. And gear wrench, I found, suffice plenty. You don't have to spend the $700, $800 on a Snap-on or a Mac set when you can spend $200 on a gear wrench set. It's really important that you don't cheap out on your combination wrenches, because when your sockets and your impacts and every other tool fails that you need to get a bolt off with, for some reason, these will save you. It's just how they're made. It's the broaching involved with making the tools. I mean, these have some of the strongest points I've seen on a 12 point. So, I mean, I've always had great things to say about the original Craftsman stuff. Now, the Craftsman Professional is of amazing quality. It's just, for the same price, I'd much rather get the Snap-on. Because if you haven't yet, there is a great show called How It's Made, and they show you exactly how Snap-on makes their sockets, and exactly how Snap-on makes their extensions, and exactly how they make their combination wrenches. And they'll show you wrenches that are this big, all the way up to wrenches that are 2 inches in diameter at the eye. So that's always a great video to watch. I love that video. I've watched it a couple of times, and I learn a little bit every time about what exactly goes into making tools. And it's a hard process because they make it look like you're cutting butter. That's how strong those tool makers are. Not the guys, the machines. But the last tool that I have is one of those specialty things that like most people won't have, but it's always really good to have, especially if you're a lube tech. Now, as a lube tech, you're going to encounter a variety of cars. With that being said, a lot of those cars may or may not be standard, depending upon their age, depending upon the maker. Just all sorts of different things go into whether or not a car has standard fasteners and metric whatever, standard bolts, whatever. Now, with that being said, I have a standard tap and die set. With that being said, most people are like, why would you buy a standard tap and die instead of a metric? Everything's metric. Yeah, everything's metric, but you can always buy metric bolts. You can't. It's harder, I feel, to buy a standard bolt without knowing the actual pitch. Now with pitch, people are like, what the hell is that? Any machinist out there is going to laugh at you because they deal with that stuff every day. However, some people are not as versed in the machining fields and all that stuff as, say, a machinist. So here's what a pitch is. Each one of those little blades has teeth on it. Each tooth has a different pitch, which is the ups and downs in a certain motion over a certain amount of distance. This is a standard set. I have an entire set right here that I use. I keep it in my box, and it's there for when I need it. Now, to use this, you take it and you put it up against a bolt that you're trying to rethread or tap or whatever you want to call. And with this, for instance, you see the teeth, you take them and match them up. And that is a pretty good match right there because you don't see any light in between them. You always hold it up to the light and see if you can see any light through them. And if you can, you got the wrong size. But if you look real good, it'll tell you exactly what it is. And this one is a 1/2 inch. And so is this tap. This is a 1/2 inch tap. Now on the other side of that knife, there are dies. When you bust up a bolt, like you're taking the oil filter crush ring off, the oil drain crush ring, you need a die. And basically what a tap and die is, you saw the tap with this. This is a tap. Very simple tool. It has a purpose. The die has a whole different purpose, but it's important all in itself. When you muck up a bunch of threads on a standard fastener, chances are you don't have a random bolt of that exact same one sitting around. So you need to do your best to fix it before you have to pay for it. So you buy the tools to fix it so you don't have to deal with that in the future. This is a die. You take it, you put it into a die set like this, and you make sure it's in just right. You tighten it down. Make sure you use a screwdriver. My set supplies one. Doesn't have to be crazy tight, just got to be in there. It's got to be in there just right. Now with that being said, each tap has a little indent on it. You see that little indent? That's where the screwdriver needs to go. Not the screwdriver, but the actual screw needs to go to prevent it from moving around. You make sure you get it nice and set. Move it around. Make sure it's not moving. And then from there, you screw in your sides. That way everything's nice and set, nothing's moving on you. You take it, you put it on your fastener, and you slowly move it around. Now, that can be a little bit scary for some folks because, oh man, what if I muck up the fastener? Well, better you try and fail than not try at all and just constantly pay out your butt. For any prospective lube tech, I recommend just getting a little cheap set of these because oil drain plugs are not hard steel because they aren't supposed to have a lot of torque on them. They have a purpose, and that's just to keep the oil in the car. Get a good set or get a cheaper set. It's fine. You don't have to worry as much about quality as much as you do about getting the right sizes. So get a set that has a good variety. That way, if you get a random Chrysler in there or anything of that nature, you know how to take care of it if you bust up a bolt. Thanks, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, and let me know what you think. I'm David from Thrifty Mechanic, and I'll see you guys later.